So in the fall of 2018, I heard from a friend of my daughter's that she had been sexually assaulted, and the news of that crushed my very soul. And I knew at that point in time something had to be done. I needed to do more than just provide support for my daughter. Of course, that was most important, but I knew that there was more for me to do. And it was at that point in time I reached out to the Sexual Assault Support Center and just said, anything I can do to volunteer, that's what I want to do. The Center at 909 is the brand that we've given to the Sexual Assault Support Center here in Columbus, Georgia. And since 2018, I've been on the board of directors for the organization. I think one of the things that COVID-19 has done to make things more challenging for us is so much of what the Center at 909 does is in person, face-to-face, to be there with the victims and survivors of the assault. And when the pandemic hit, we were like all other organizations. Being in person at the center was not an option. And so we were forced to think differently about how we can provide the advocacy that's so important to us, but more importantly to the survivors that we serve.
The advocates would sit you down and just ask you questions about what happened, so you don't have to keep saying it. So if you do decide to go to court or like talk to the police or whatever, they just have the video that you already took and already talked to them about, which for me was a female, which was a lot better. She knew what to ask. She knew, like, okay, you don't want to say things over and over and over again. So she just recorded everything. But you have to be there in person to get that recording.
We oftentimes will have one of our advocates be present with an individual who has suffered from a sexual assault as they go for forensic testing at the hospital. The pandemic created a complete change to that approach. What we found was that most of the hospitals didn't allow any visitors, guests, or persons in attendance with the actual patient themselves. That was a big departure from the way that we work at the Center at 909. What we decided was it was time for us to raise money and be able to conduct our own forensic testing at the center specifically. That requires specialized equipment, and it requires us to have specially trained medical personnel that can conduct forensic testing on victims of sexual assault. We made the changes knowing that it was going to cost more money, but we really didn't have any other alternative if we wanted to continue our mission. And so what we realized is that raising money in a pandemic is even more difficult than trying to raise money without a pandemic. It required us on the board to reach out to our centers of influence and find ways to contact people and see if they could dig a little deeper and help us with the funding.
I think when it comes to COVID, there's been rules put into place of you can't go here, you can't go there, especially if you don't have a mask or if you don't have a vaccine. I think when it falls into sexual assault and the Center at 909, it does affect people. It affects people not being able to go there, not using their resources. So I think if you can just at least put your mask on, get vaccinated, get this done, as soon as possible, it will help people that you're not even thinking about. So mask up. If you need more information, always contact any centers around you or the Center at 909, and we'll get through this together.